Hello, I'm in conversation today with Esmé Bowers, who is the Director of Church in Community with the World Evangelical Alliance. Esmé is also the chairperson of the Evangelical Alliance of South Africa. And Esmé, we're just so thrilled to have you with us at this month's Micah Connect gathering. Perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit to people who don't know you.
Yes, thanks, Deborah, and thank you for having me. And so good to be connected with everybody else, even as we're having this conversation together. I live in Cape Town, and that's very helpful for all of you to know my time zone. I am married and just recently, 2 years ago, retired and working now much more with the World Evangelical Alliance. I have a daughter, Nadine, and some of you may know her, but we work very differently. And she's the academic and I'm the practitioner. So that's always good for everybody to know which buttons to press when. I think that, Deborah, you're wanting me to say something about the World Evangelical Alliance. And I'm just going to go straight into that now. The World Evangelical Alliance brings together over 600 million Christians around the world. And we cooperate with many, many organizations, including the Lausanne Movement, the Global Christian Movement, and the World Pentecostal Movement. For us, as the World Evangelical Alliance, we are structured, quite carefully structured. We have regions, and we have 9 regions in the world, and we have national alliances, and I think there are about 140 something national alliances around the world. And our real purpose is to bring together the body of Christ and seek unity and purpose as we address the issues in our generation. And I think that changes for every generation. I think people don't realize how old we are. This year we're celebrating 175 years. We were established in 1846, really in the UK. And it's been a movement of ups and downs, as all unity movements are. Let's be honest with that. And so as we celebrate this time together, we are really looking back to see what God has done through this movement, because our vision really is John 17, verse 18. Evangelical unity globally for gospel transformation. That's our passion. That's what we do. And we really want to strengthen this identity, strengthen this voice through all our affiliate members and all the people who are connected with us. And we provide a platform for gospel witness, and particularly around the area of discipleship. So as you can see, we are quite a big organization, quite carefully structured. And our aspiration really is to see the fullness of life for every person. So it's individual. It's, when we think of 600 million people, it's a lot of people, but we really focus on the individual. We want to see a healthy church for every people. We want to see equipped leaders for every congregation. And we really want to see the shalom of God for every nation. And so even as we are well structured, and maybe Deborah, I will say a little bit more about the way we are structured, because we actually have quite a few departments that are very interesting, because we all serve the same purpose. And yet when you hear about our departments and our leadership, you will see how different we all are. My role is to lead, and they call me a director, but I don't care what they call me. I'm just here to serve the kingdom. I'm the director of church engagement, or church in community. We have Dr. Janet Buckingham, who actually leads the global advocacy movement, and they do a lot of work with the United Nations and those kind of areas. Then we have Theresa Lau from Malaysia, and she leads the theological working group, Global Theology. And we have a missions commission, of course, we're an Evangelical Alliance. We've got Jay Matenga from New Zealand, who leads the missions commission. And then Johannes Reimer, and he's from Germany, Russia. He's not quite sure where he's from. He's from all over. He's one of those global figures, and we're so grateful to have him. And he leads the Public Engagement Forum. And then we have Timothy Goropes, who leads the communications. And so this is the way we are structured. We don't work in silos. We are really integrated in what we do, and we are friends with all the departments. Interestingly enough, each department has a group of ministry cohorts. So in my department, I have 10 ministry cohorts, 10 groups of people who support the work that I do in community engagement or church engagement or whatever you want to, people call it all different ways. And so my department really has the issue, we address the issue of, firstly, Women's Commission, addressing women's issues, doing advocacy for women mainly. We have a Youth Commission looking at advocacy issues for youth, but also developing the youth. We have a Children's Network, which networks many children's organizations around the world, and I'm sure there are some here that are belonging to them. And then we have Pastoring of Pastors Network, and they actually see to the development of pastors globally. We also have Family Challenge, because that's all within the church environment. And so how they themselves work within this Family Challenge. So these are the key groups that belong. And then we have World Without Orphans. We have Bob Moffat with his harvest evangelism and his discipleship. And then we have the Global Children's Forum. And then we have the Business Coalition, and they also do a lot of work together with lots of people. And so you can see this is quite a diverse group of people, and we do all kinds of different things. And thank you, Deborah, that I can share a little bit about the way we are structured. Hope it hasn't confused anybody.
Esme, I'm just so excited listening to you. I can feel the excitement inside of me, and I get a picture of a multifaceted, dynamic, relational-based, kingdom-based entity that is so also with a church at the heart. I also hear you say things which are so aligned with our own vision and mission and passion as Micah Global members, you know, talking about the fullness of life for every person. That's our vision and mission, talking about healthy church, talking about shalom. These are things which are so close to us. Also hearing about the different areas of advocacy, theology, public engagement, community and church engagement. The alignment is so close that I think it's just had the thought now, Esme, we should really schedule a follow-up workshop to be able to double click on some of these areas to see how Micah Global members can be connecting and working well with the different units of the WEA. Of course, we have a history of this from the Micah Challenge, which between 2004 and 2015 was a campaign of the WEA and Micah Network, as it was at the time. And so we have a good history of collaboration, and you know, I'm really keen to pick that up again, as I know you are. I'd like to move into your area of specialty a little bit here and look at the relationship between local congregations, local churches, and Christian development organizations and mission organizations who are often members of Micah Global. You know, over the years working in the sector, I've been asked on several occasions, as I'm sure you have been, why do we have churches and Christian development organizations, relief and development agencies? Is it right that they both exist? And it's a particular interest of mine, and I think an area where we have a lot to learn. What is your understanding of this, if I can call it a special relationship, and how it can work well, etc.? Or how do you see this, and what models do you use when thinking about it?
Thanks, Deborah. I've been a pastor for many years. So working in a local church environment has been very, very much part of my life. But also I have been exposed to other developmental organizations. And so I have found in my own personal experience, bringing them in with their skills into our space helps develop the local church and makes the local church stronger. Unfortunately, this is not what happens everywhere. I have seen many, many people, I call them accidents along the road, many clashes along the road. And this is not what the kingdom is about. This is not what church is about. We are all part of the body of Christ. And so it pains me when these things happen. But I do understand that sometimes the church is not equipped or does not have the vision that some of these developmental organizations have. And so their members leave. They leave the church because they choose to do what God is calling them to do. And they do not find the space in their local church to live out their passion, to live out their calling. And so unfortunately, some pastors are very territorial. I'm just saying it as it is because I've been around for a while. When you've been around for a while, you can say some things. Some pastors are very territorial, but there are others that are very open to inviting people into their space. And so this has always been a problem, as not only between developmental organizations. I work with the Missions Commission, and a lot of people that I'm sure belong to even Micah Global is part of the Missions Commission in some way or another because of their diverse work that they do. And one of my big calls at the Missions Commission when we had our last gathering face-to-face, I was speaking about how we can cooperate. And I said to them, the early church was a group of people who were completely integrated in what they were doing. Holistic mission was part of what they did. Today, people are more interested in building their kingdoms, their churches, bigger, better. It's almost like we must, this little church went to market. What is it that I'm looking for church? Let's provide this for the people. But that's not what church is about. And that's not where developmental organizations find comfort. And so I want to advise that there are ways that we can assist local churches. Firstly, I want to say, do not withdraw. Push forward and offer your services and your skills because the church needs them to be healthy. Sometimes we think and we're afraid to approach this one or that one. Just step out and build a relationship with the people that God is showing you and find ways where you can cooperate and where you can pass on the skills. I want to encourage any developmental organization to come in as a servant. You may have the skills. You may have everything that this church needs, but they don't know it. So as you come in as a servant and present what God has already called you and gifted you in, you can bring a lot of value into that local church. Do not withdraw. That's my key thing. My key thing is keep on pushing on. There are structures. Okay, there are structures in the World Evangelical Alliance. There are structures in national alliances. I chair the Evangelical Alliance of South Africa. And I would like to see more of global people, Micah Global people participate and step up and come to the general secretaries where they are in the different nations that you serve and say to them, what is it that we can offer the Evangelical Alliance in our nation to make you better? Because many of you have organizational skills. And sometimes these evangelical alliances are weak. And so you can bring that part on to the Evangelical Alliance. So look for gaps. Let me just put it that way. Look for gaps where you can serve in whichever capacity you can. I believe we all need to make the church stronger. There is an onslaught against the health of the church today. And I believe that we call them non-governmental organizations or development organizations can bring lots of value into not only the local church, but also into the national alliances and make them a better space for all of us. Identify the leaders in the Evangelical Alliances, speak to them, step out to engage with them. And as I said, do the same with local churches, but you can do it on a macro scale in your nation. So I want to encourage you to begin to think differently, not just in your space where you operate and in what you're doing, but think, how can I change my nation? Don't just think of what you are doing, but how can I help others to also become better in how they serve God?
Esme, you've given us some very practical handles there and also some challenges. And certainly we will continue this conversation. In closing, is there a story you could share perhaps of a good relationship or good partnership that you've seen between a development organization and a local church?
Well, you know, I can just tell you one organization that I've worked with very often. And it's a missions organization, but they do training in missions and they do training in development. And it's all about holistic mission. And how do we know how we can empower ourselves? And they have come alongside us in many ways. I also want to say that there are other organizations like the Lausanne movement that have offered a lot, and they have got workshops. And so they come in and they help us and they make us stronger. I always think of the early church. I think of holistic mission. I think of integral mission. I say, as a local church, what do we need to serve the community where we are? People need to know how to identify the needs in their community. Many of you have those skills where you can come in and say, these are the needs in your community. The other thing that you can do, and I really want to push for this, is that you don't only work with one church, but you find community churches, find 6 or 10 churches in a community and work with them. That means that you strengthen their hands and they then are able to bring about change, not only in their own church, but they are able to change the community. I've worked with many organizations. And so I've seen how best we can do this. I mean, I've worked with abused women and how we've worked with organizations that do that. I would work with children at risk and working with NGOs that do children at risk. So all these are things that I'm involved in. And I've seen the value that others bring into the space.
Esme, thank you so much for sharing with us. I really do believe that this is the start of a conversation between the WEA and Micah Global. It can be the start of a whole new phase of working together and building strong relationships on the ground, especially at grassroots, between development organizations and congregations. And I want to thank you personally for reaching out to me and for extending a hand of fellowship and friendship. And I do believe that we will still journey long and far together. So God bless you. Thank you, Esme.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to conversations further on. Thanks.